when you get into whatever your professional setting is. Because remember, when we look at our wagon, hopefully soon to be a dump truck in 3 weeks, what we want to do is be able to put as much stuff, functional, creative, as we can into our therapeutic exercise box, right? And what we want to be pulling in are things like Pilates, yoga, aquatics. Hopefully we'll be able to get them pulled on Wednesday. Now, I want to ask you a few questions. When we did Pilates on Monday, what did you feel? Can you remember? We were in the back room.
I felt like I worked out more than I did. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I did like a really intense workout.
Okay.
Which I mean it kind of did, but I did a lot less than what I would have done.
So it was short but intense, which is the big premise behind the Pilates, that you don't have, train smarter, not harder. What else did you feel when we're looking specifically at your body? We think of our 8 short-term goals, things over here. Core big time, right? And core was involved literally in every single exercise because we had to maintain what? Yeah, we had to maintain that core tightness in order to do any other type of movement. Did you feel anything else? Thinking of the 8 short-term goals. Do you feel like the Pilates may have touched some other stuff?
I think endurance.
Endurance? And why endurance?
Well, because you have to hold those poses, and you have to make sure that it's correct, and so you don't hurt yourself.
Okay, super. So we got muscular endurance, and then
Strength, that's strength.
big on strength. And then what else was happening? Let's say we did 1 rep, then we did another, then we did another. What were we also gaining?
Range of motion.
Range of motion and flexibility, absolutely. So we felt all of that. And do you remember the differences between range of motion and flexibility, the relationship with them? Range of motion is?
The ability of the joints.
The degree of movement around a joint, which depends on the flexibility of the tissues. So if my hamstring gets really, really tight, what's going to happen to my hip and my knee range of motion? It's going to decrease. As I stretch and increase the tensile lengthening of my hamstring, what will then happen to the knee and the hip range of motion?
Increase.
Absolutely. So we see they're connected. They're not. You can't have one without the other. And we can kind of use them interchangeably, but range of motion truly is the numeric measurement about the joint. Flexibility is the extensibility of the tissue. Okay? Yoga. You just did it. What did you feel? Flexibility big time, right? And what else? Core, yeah. And what did she keep telling you?
Breathing.
And when she was telling you about the breathing, what was it reminding you in an indirect way? Because in order for you to breathe properly, what do you have to do? You have to sit up straight. So breathing is an indirect cue for posture and core, okay? Did we feel anything else, or could we connect anything else when we look at our 8 short-term goals of rehabilitation to yoga?
Neuromuscular.
Okay, why?
You're doing some weird stuff.
Aren't you? Now, can I ask, are those positions that you probably haven't had your body in a long time?
Yeah.
All right. So when we say that it's neuromuscular, why is it neuromuscular? What's happening?
The muscles are relearning how to go in this direction.
It's relearning how to go in those directions. The body's talking, but who's talking to who?
Nerves.
Nerve is talking to the muscle, so we're getting a signal from the brain, which is going down the, remember, efferent pathway to the muscle, telling it what to do. The signal then goes back up the afferent pathway and then allows you to get into that position. And interestingly, see how all this stuff ties together that we've been talking about for 2 semesters. Now, let's pretend you have an athlete, your case study, and you have, for example, 3 Pilates exercises you have to incorporate and 3 yoga exercises you have to incorporate. Without going into the specific poses, what would be teaching cues for Pilates?
Technique.
Okay, technique is going to be critical. And when we say technique, what really do we mean?
Posture.
Like
Posture.
posture, core.
And keeping a secret.
Tight core and our C curve. Okay? Now today, a little bit different. We're somewhere in Arizona, on the beach in California. The yoga is just amazing. It may have been Maine, but I doubt it. I think it was California somewhere. What are our teaching cues for that?
Breathing.
Breathing, relaxing. And again, when we talk about the breathing, it's an indirect reminder about what?
Posture.
Posture. Because if we're in the proper position to breathe, we're always going to have the correct posture, spine and core, which then allows us to go into whatever that yoga position is. Do you have any questions on what we've done so far? You understand differences between Pilates and yoga, how to incorporate them into your athletes, and the teaching techniques now for yoga. What we're going to do is go into the weight room. I'm going to set up the polyspot stations, and we're not going to do all of them, but what I want you to do is grab a partner, and one of you is going to do the exercise, the other is going to teach. So I want you to do two things with each of our stations. I need you to be able to do it to feel it. And remember, we always preach that you don't want to have an athlete do an exercise program until you have done what? Until you yourself have done it, because you have to feel what you're asking them to do. So we're going to do the stations partnered so you can feel it, and then once you feel it, you can do what?
Teach it.
Teach it, because then you're going to really understand what that position feels like. And some of them are going to be a bit challenging. What I would recommend, since we're going to go in the gym, it is always clean, but let's go ahead and put our shoes back on. If you have water, let's bring the water in, and I'll set up the stations and we'll move forward in there.